Hey guys, this is the first video for reviewing everything that is coming up on the upcoming test. We're gonna do like 3 or 4 of these, and we're gonna start with lines. These are gonna be very short. I'm just gonna go over the concept. I'm gonna give you an example, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, so if you need to rewatch this video, watch it as many times as you can, or as you want. So the first thing that we tackled on for this upcoming test were lines, different types of lines. And we saw this as part of our geometry work. We started the unit on geometry. And remember that geometry is part of math that um, deals with measuring things, okay? Measuring and describing figures and shapes and objects. So one of the very first things that we learn are lines and the different types of elements that we find in the study of lines. For example, we talked about what a line is. Uh, it's something that goes interminably on both sides. We talk about the concept of a ray, which is half of a line. It goes on one direction, but then it has a point and it stops on another direction. We talked about the point. We talked about the um, line segment. And then we talked about three very important types of lines. So we talked about parallel lines, the first one that we have here. And parallel lines, if we remember, are lines that do not touch each other. So I can draw a line like this, and then I can draw a line like this. And those two lines, whoops, nope. Those two lines are said to be parallel. Why can't I get it parallel? Okay, parallel lines. Now, what we're really saying, guys, when we talk about parallel lines, is two lines that if you measure this distance from here to here, it's going to be exactly the same distance as if you measure it here, or if you measure it here, or if you measure it in any other part of the line. Remember that both lines uh, go, they don't finish. They are interminable in both ends. So it doesn't matter where you measure the distance between the two lines, it's always going to give you the same. And if this is just to say a number, if this measures 2 inches and this measures 2 inches, that means that distance is kept all throughout the pair of lines. And those are parallel lines, lines that will never cross or touch each other. Then we talked about perpendicular lines, right? And perpendicular lines are lines, and for this, it's good that we learn about angles first, because for perpendicular lines, we learned that there are lines that form a 90-degree angle between them. Okay, so some of my students say, oh, they form a perfect cross. Yeah, but what is a perfect cross? So we've seen in examples in the class that sometimes two lines that appear to be perpendicular. They look like perpendicular lines, but when you actually measure the angle, it doesn't measure 90 degrees. So we have to be very careful at saying, oh, perpendicular lines are lines that form a perfect cross. It is best if we talk about the angle that they form. When they cross, they form, actually they form 4 right angles. Okay? And remember that perpendicular lines can come in that way, or they can come in this way. Oops, sorry. Let's do a line tool here. So you can have a line here, and you can have another line here. Okay? Those are two perpendicular lines because we know that this line will continue this way, and this way, and this one line will continue this way, unless they are raised and they stopped here. But either way, if they are raised, they are forming a 90-degree angle here, so that means that they are perpendicular, and you know that that angle measures 90 degrees. Finally, we talked about intersecting lines, and intersecting lines is nothing but two lines that cross. Okay, there's one, there's another. So intersecting lines are two lines that cross. Now, if you listen to that definition, two lines that cross, perpendicular lines are also intersecting lines because they do cross. It's just that they receive a specific name because they cross, forming a 90-degree angle. So all perpendicular lines are also intersecting lines, but not all intersecting lines are going to be perpendicular lines. Okay? Okay, the last concept that I wanted to review with you was naming a line. Remember that you can name a line by 2 points on the line. So if you have a line like this, and this is point A and this is point B, you can say that that line is line AB. Okay? And we can draw it like that. Sometimes lines are um, named only by 1 point. So this is line A. Okay? Sometimes they don't even have a point on the line, but we say, oh, that line is line Z. Okay, so there are many different ways to name a line, but it's important that we learn to recognize how we name the lines. Okay, so let's go to the example. So I want you to look at this at these lines. First, I want to ask, how many lines do you see? It is important for us to learn to identify the lines because right now, when you first look at this, you say, "Whoa, what a mess!" Right, but this is actually not a mess. It's just a series of lines drawn together. So how many lines? Well, you can do many things. You can count the names. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 names, so there must be 5 lines. So let's see if that's correct. So I see a line here, that's 1, this one. I see a line here, that's 2. I see 2 lines here, one here and one here. That's 3 and 4. And finally, I see this line. That's 5. Yes, there are 5 lines. Okay, now I want to ask a few questions about these particular 5 lines here. Hold on, let me get rid of the lines here, or the arrows. So you could probably begin to know, the shape of my questions. What kind of questions am I going to ask? Because just at first inspection, when you see these lines, you say, whoa, okay, there are lines here that appear to be parallel. They appear to run side by side and will never touch. I can see lines that appear to be perpendicular. Yeah, and I can see lines that are intersecting. A lot of lines are intersecting. Let's look at the intersecting points. Boom. Here I have 2 lines intersecting, line Z and line C. C and Z, they're intersecting there. Here I have line C and line H intersecting, this one and this one. Here I have line H and line Z intersecting. So you can find many types of intersecting points between the lines, okay? Now, how about if I ask you this? Out of all of these lines that you see here, what lines appear to be perpendicular? And I'm going to be very careful and say appear because we're not using a protractor to measure any angles. We're just doing this by visual inspection. So out of all these lines, what lines appear to be perpendicular? If you want, pause the video for a second and think about this and try to come up with an answer before I give it to you. Okay, so we think perpendicular. Okay, perpendicular are lines that form a 90-degree angle uh, between themselves. So, okay, I know how a right angle looks. It doesn't matter how I twist it, I know how it looks. It should be close to 90 degrees. And this angle is not 90 degrees, this angle is not 90 degrees. The only angle that I can maybe say that is 90 degrees is this angle here, okay, or this angle here, or this angle here, or this angle here. So line T and line Z, they appear to be perpendicular. How about if I ask you, what 2 lines appear to be parallel? Well, first you have to go back in your mind to the definition of parallel, and you say parallel are 2 lines that have the same measurement all throughout the lines, and they will never touch no matter how long they run. Well, I can only see two lines here that appear to be perpendicular, and that's H and A. They appear to run side by side and appear to never touch. Okay? All of the other lines end up being intersecting lines. Even T, even this one, even T and Z. They are perpendicular, but they are all also intersecting because they're crossing. So this is the sort of questions that you have to be ready to answer. And this is just by visual inspection. Now, you will not be able to answer these questions if you don't know or remember what a parallel line is, what a perpendicular line is, and what an intersecting line is. So my advice is learn these. Go back to Canvas, go back to the videos, go back to the practice, learn what a parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting line is. And I promise you, this kind of exercise, this kind of problem is going to be super simple for you. Okay, so in our next video, we're gonna look at composite and protractors and how do we measure angles with protractors, and we're gonna do a quick review on angles. Okay, see you on the next video.